Hi folks, in the last video I showed you how to use comments where you can leave notes for yourself or other developers, and they can help explain how you did certain things or why you did it in a certain way. They can also be used to help debug problems with your code, which is what I always do. I always just comment out a few lines where I think the issue may be and see if it clears it up, and then I go from there. In this video I am going to show you how to make your applications smart in the sense that they can take multiple paths or that they can think on their own. You will have to do some programming with this. It's not going to be done automatically, but using an if statement is the start to this. So we're going to get rid of the code that we have here. I'm going to type in if followed by parentheses, and inside the parentheses this condition has to be true in order for the containing code to be run. So we'll put an if and we'll put in job is equal to manager, and job is a variable we haven't set up yet, so I'm going to do that right now, and we'll give it a value of manager. So if job is equal to, the difference between the double equal sign is it's checking if they're equal. Using a single equal sign is assigning the variable the value. So make sure you watch out for that. It will still run if you leave out that second equal sign. This condition will always be true. So you want to make sure that you have that second equal sign. If you do a third one, then it's actually checking to make sure the type is the same. So if you were to have a number here, let's say we do 5, and up here in our variable we were to do 5, these would not be equal because the value that we're passing in is a string and it's comparing it to a number, which those are not equal. So we'll backtrack a little bit. So we got a value, we're checking for manager, and if it is equal to manager, we open and close curly braces, and inside we're going to echo out you are a manager. And this is good for a basic code here. I did the side-by-side views because I think it would be helpful for you guys to see the code and then see the output at the same time. So we have a one if statement here which echoes out if they're a manager or not. If they are not a manager, if we just delete a couple things so that way that string is not equal, then it's not going to spit anything out. But in our case we want to say if they're not a manager, then they've got to be a customer. And one way to do that is you can check if it's a manager. Otherwise you can use the else statement. And the else always is added to an if statement. You can't use it by itself. And this is kind of like the catch-all for your if statement. So if it doesn't match anything, this is what it's going to be. So we're going to echo you are a customer. So now if I were to refresh this page, you get you are a customer. Now, let's say we don't want to have to make multiple if statements, because we could check if it's a manager, echo this. If it's a employee, echo this. If it's not equal to or whatever, echo customer. One way we can do that is to shorten it by adding an else if statement. I'm checking if job is equal to employee. Then we'll do our code, and then we can add in our final else statement here. I'll just drop this down so that way it's easier to read, and echo you are an employee. So if we change this, our job, to employee, we're going to get an output of employee. So it's checking if our job is equal to a manager. It's not, so we're going to skip this block here, and then it's going to go to the next piece, which is an else if. So we have another condition here to check, and we're going to do job equal to employee. It is true, so we're going to run this block here, and we're going to completely skip everything else. So it never even gets to you are a customer. So this can be helpful. You can nest if statements if you wanted to. I do it quite often with some of my code, and it is quite common. So you can do that by just adding in another if here, like so. So that's it for if else and just a regular else statement. But what if we had like a huge list? We have manager, employee, CEO, director, a bunch of those. We don't want to create this ugly looking long if statement here. What we can do is we can use a switch. And all that a switch is, you use the switch keyword and pass in, inside parentheses, we pass in what we want to check. So we're going to check our job. And we don't have to do any kind of conditional there. The switch is going to handle that for us. And with a switch, you use cases. And so our first case, we type in case, followed by whatever we want to check if our job is equal to. So we'll do employee. And then you follow it up with a colon. And everything that follows gets processed under that switch. So case employee, we're going to echo I am an employee. And above that, I'm going to check for manager. Echo I am a manager. And so that way these don't get run together. I got to put in a break. And we're going to add in another case for CEO. Echo I am a CEO. Break. Case director. Echo I am break. And if it doesn't fall under any of these, we can do a default, which no matter what, if none of these match, it's going to always get to this piece. So default is going to be echo I am a customer. So now let's take a look at this code. We have job, employee. It should spit out I am an employee, which it does. So now if I were to change this job to CEO, and a refresh, I get I am a CEO. But what if I were to change this to monkey? So none of these match, so it should spit out I am a customer, as it does. Now, let's see if we were to have a case of manager. We want it to spit out I am a manager, but I'm also an employee. Or I am a manager, and then I am an employee. What we can do is we can take out this break here. And what this should do is this should allow us to run the code under manager and then also go into the employee because we don't have a break there. We're not telling it, okay, I want it to stop here. So if I refresh this and put in manager as my job and refresh my code, I should get I'm a manager, I'm an employee. So it's running both of these cases. So you can do multiple cases if you need to. So if you've got, I don't know, a manager who is also an employee or something along those lines, you can run the code under both of those. So that is the switch statement in a nutshell. I can't think of anything else, any kind of conditional. If I happen to miss something, post a comment and I'd be happy to do a quick video on it. But stay tuned for the next video.